Thank you, Madam Speaker, ladies and gentlemen of the House. I'd like to start out by simply mentioning a principle that I've kind of used for the last years regarding my work on water quality and related legislation and the kind of dollars that we're asking Iowans to devote to this purpose. And that is, Iowans are willing to pay for results if we know we are getting the results we are paying for. I'd like to recognize Representative Baltimore and all his hard work on the House side last year as we put together a bipartisan bill, 78 votes. That bill is currently here in discussion as in the form of an amendment to the Senate file. We didn't get everything we asked for. I certainly didn't get everything I wanted. Representative Baltimore, you probably remember some of the discussion we had on the floor regarding some of the items that we thought our own legislation fell short on. Yet we were still able to round up 78 votes out of this House for a water quality bill that I think would have put us on the path of Iowans getting results for what we're paying for. Some of those amendments addressed goals, timelines, measurement, monitoring of water quality in stream, public reporting of results, all based on initiatives undertaken at the watershed level with the potential for all contributors to the problem working together to put their shoulders to the wheel collectively through watershed management authorities or other local initiatives within watersheds where the people working on the problem can solve their own problems and see the results for themselves. Our bill has, and our amendment that we're now discussing today, has the structure in place to do that, and I think we can build upon that structure in the future. If we wanted to do more of this session, as we just heard from Representative Wills, that maybe we would like to do, continue the discussions and continue our work. So I'm very disappointed for not only for ourselves, but for you, Representative Baltimore, that your colleagues seem now to be so willing to simply discard all the hard work we did last session and simply say a bill that we thought was not good enough is now good enough. Although we just heard what I consider a vague promise of more. Well, why don't we see the more and vote on that first and then come back to this? I guess I'd offer that as a proposal. But it kind of reminds me of Let's Make a Deal. Some of the folks here may not remember that show as well as I do. I came home for lunch from school every day, watched it on Channel 7. Up in the audience, what's under box number 1? Oh, that isn't particularly interesting, but hey, trade it in for what's behind curtain number 2. Well, we're told today that we can have what's under box number 1, and maybe we can get behind what's behind curtain number 2 also. Well, we don't know what's behind there, and I'm not sure that we'll like what we see behind there, and I don't know if we'll ever get an opportunity to get what's behind there. So I think these vague allusions about what more might be coming really aren't relevant to today's discussion. Also disappointed Representative Baltimore that over the interim, we heard from a number of stakeholders who are advocates of the Senate version of this bill who have grossly distorted our work, grossly distorted what it does in order to build up local pressure on us as individual legislators to take what I considered a watered-down water bill. And by the way, Representative Wills, Democrats, I'm sure, would be happy to engage in those discussions. I wasn't approached. I'm not sure Representative Pritchard was approached during the interim to talk about some of these ideas. But again, if we want to keep the bipartisan approach that we've established here in the House under Representative Baltimore's leadership, I'm sure we'd be interested in being part of those discussions. Another reason I think we need to be concerned, based on this principle of Iowans are willing to pay for results if we know what we're getting, if we are getting the results we're paying for, I think our budget situation has materially changed since last year.
'Year, 'at this time, or even when we adjourned in April. 'Cause, 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 'cause
We have to figure out how to pay back a debt on last year's budget. We got to make significant cuts to this year's budget. And we got to figure out where we're going to come up with the money for next year's budget. And we're already talking about going back on some of the promises that we made in past years, particularly to cities and counties, to help do that. Meanwhile, we're proposing to backtrack on a bill that would actually give those same cities and counties access to resources to address a serious problem that they have in the name of water quality. So I'm not sure that we can afford even the Senate version now, given the fact that we can't promise taxpayers that we're going to get results so that they can see what they're paying for. I had a pastor at the church I go to. He's now resting in peace. Father O'Brien, as you can guess, he's an Irish ancestry, had the Irish humor. Usually right about February, third week, fourth week of February, Ash Wednesday, looking at 40 days of Lent, we're going to have the parish Lenten soup and supper. And he would tell us from the pulpit, make sure you let us know you're coming. We need to know how much water to put in the soup. Well, guess what? We put so much water in this soup, there's no soup left. And I think that would be a terrible, we'd be letting Iowans down in the most unfortunate way if we were to move forward by receding on this amendment. I plan on voting no. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Chair recognizes